Hey there, how's it going? Hey YouTube. I've decided I'm going to read out a post I've made on my website, make a video of it, so that it explains my story, and perhaps hopefully shed some light and truth. The link is, can you see that? The link is www.darcylee.com search/label/terrorists. I'll put the link down below so you can just click it there rather than just typing it out, but I thought I'd read it out just to be a pain. So here we go, this is my website. It's actually about 9 years now, I just never got around to updating that. So we're first in virtual reality, now celebrating 9 years of blogging. I'll skip this intro. Everyone sees that intro, it's above every page that you click. And I'll skip the first post. The first post is dated Saturday, February 27th, 2016. And it's called Terrorists in New Zealand. I'll skip that and actually come back to it. I'll read it out afterwards. I guess it is a pretty good summary. I'll skip, so the post I'm reading is dated Tuesday, February 12th, 2013, and it's titled About September 11, 2001 Letter to Lawyer. But the others basically explain the same sort of stuff, but I think I'll come back to them, I'll read them out as well. I've got about 20-25 minutes to operate, so that's how long the camera lasts. I can store a file as big as that, but as 20-25 minutes, so yeah. Okay, here we go. This is all on my website. I'll put the camera down and I'll just read to you. I'll try and find something. Oh, that'll have to do, sorry, that'll just have to do for the image. I'll move it a bit closer. That's just going to have to do. Okay. About September 11th, 2001 letter to lawyer. Here is a letter that I sent to over 100 different law firms asking for representation in court regarding my story. So far I have gotten one phone call at 11:30 PM at night from a UK law firm, and he said he hadn't even read the email. He basically said I should get a New Zealand lawyer, which I have tried. Anyway, here is the letter. Hello, my name's Darcy Lee. I'm looking for a lawyer. Perhaps you can help. I found you in Google. I've looked for a lawyer before but never proceeded. It's come to the point where a lawyer is necessary as there has been no progress with any of my attempts. I am very poor at the moment. I live on the invalid's benefit, so don't have any money, but this is the potential for multi-millions, so should be proceeded if you understand, and financially you should realise the potential. Here's my story. I will pay the bill, but you have to earn your money. Once upon a time ago, I rang Newstalk ZB, nationwide New Zealand talkback radio, and was talking live on air with Kerry Woodham during prime time shortly after 9 PM. During the phone call, I said, they don't think, 3 times in a row. See, the thing is, you really have to hear the phone call yourself. It's not good enough to type about it. Anyway, after saying they don't think, I then yelled war at full volume live on air and proceeded to call whoever was listening to stand up and be ready. I laid my life on the line. I also said the thing times 2, and at the end voiced a gleam in my eye. I voiced that suffering and war were going to happen, and 2 days later the planes hit the buildings. There's more to the phone call. It went for about 30 to 40 seconds or more, all about war. You really have to hear it to get the best impression I made an aggressive attacking and defending stance. So 2 days later the planes hit the World Trade Center and Pentagon. The phone call was me preparing people for war and warning of war in the only way I could. You have to hear it. Maybe you think this phone call is not important. You have to hear it. Don't judge before you have heard the phone call. You have to hear it. Even if the original phone call wasn't important, what happened next makes it the beginning. The phone call where I yelled war, predicting a war 2 days before September 11th, 2001, is the Mona Lisa of phone calls. It's art. It's solid state of the art. It's real and copies exist. You don't delete and destroy the Mona Lisa. I'm sorry that my reading's pretty poor. I haven't read for ages, since school, and that was 20 years ago. I haven't read out loud, I never read out loud. Okay, where was I? Okay, the phone call I made, the initial one before the attacks, is important. People will be interested in this phone call. It deserves its place on YouTube. I predict that this phone call alone will garner millions of hits from YouTube. It's being censored from the public and my freedom of speech is being taken away. I'm not allowed a copy. For one, my phone call is important enough to never be deleted. It pertains to a war, a terrorist attack that was broadcast live around the world. All this only 2 days after the phone call's inception. Now maybe you wouldn't be interested if the story ended there. You may be thinking that even with millions of hits on YouTube, that my phone call wouldn't generate much money. The money's not worth it for you. The story so far is shaky and crumbly. No one ever believes me. I want to bankrupt myself to prove my story. I want to do what it takes. Anyhow, the story continues. Well, after the planes hit the buildings in America, I rang back Newstalk ZB. If the planes had never hit, I would never have rung back. In the phone calls that I made after the attacks, I asked for a reward. That's what I called it anyway, a reward. The reward was that famous musicians, rock stars, make songs out of things I said over Newstalk ZB and further phone calls. I asked for Eminem by name. And here it is. Now songs by Red Hot Chili Peppers, Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, Eminem, Tattoo, Finger 11, Sugar Babes, Outkast, Brooke Fraser, Finbro, Green Day, Hoobastank, Grits, Foo Fighters, Avril Lavigne, Stone Sour, Day of Fire. All have cameo lyrics first spoken by me over Newstalk ZB radio air. The phone calls still exist as again they are this important. They are a base to songs by these groups, mostly the chorus. As in words from my phone calls now are cameoed in all of these artists' songs. See, the thing is, I would rather leave the music out of it, not release those for a while, only after reviewing them and creating decent videos. But I'm afraid lawyers might not be interested in my original phone call without first hearing it. I'm broke, remember, so I've introduced the music aspect at fear of not being believed. So there is a phone call where I yelled war and made the whole phone call about war. Then the planes hit the buildings. So I asked that somebody spend and somebody spent millions on converting things I said in phone calls I made to Newstalk ZB into now famous songs by famous rock stars. If you believe me, then it should be win-win. We go to court and win. You get paid, I get my phone calls. I'm speaking the truth. I'm not delusional. No one believes me. I need a lawyer to prove the truth. For this I have to push and pay cash. For this I say I will be a millionaire. But at the moment I am broke. Now, I included this part about my domain names. I find it kind of embarrassing now, but I'll read it. I do own darcylee.com, darcylee.co.nz and darcylee.net, which in the future after the truth is set free will be worth heaps. These domains would be worth considerable dollars, I believe. I am a celebrity, even if only by cameo, to some of the biggest songs in the world. The truth will set free. The phone calls are the truth. Please, if you have further questions, please ask. I hope I made sense. Also, please, if you're not interested, could you please pass this along to someone you think might be able to help or help me out by putting me in contact with the right people. I need a lawyer who's willing to go the distance to get these phone calls. Copies of these phone calls still exist. They are simply too important to delete. They are my property. People need to hear the phone calls. I am willing to pay money to get them, as I will earn far in excess of whatever I could possibly spend on lawyers' fees. I am willing to bankrupt myself. If they didn't want people to hear my phone calls, they shouldn't have made the songs. The songs are secondary though. My first original phone call where I yelled war is by far way more important. People have a right to hear it. It should not be left unheard. I have rights that should let me post something of intrinsic value on the internet. Okay, so I made a phone call where I yelled war, predicting a war live over radio, talkback air. 2 days later, the planes hit the buildings. I haven't told you the preparation I made up to that first phone call. Here is that. How I prepared. So it all started one day when I was about 11 years old. The local radio station in Marston, New Zealand, where I live, was doing a live broadcast from Solway Park Hotel, as it was called then, which is Marston's most flashy hotel. Our teacher grabbed 3 of us from school at 9 a.m. in the morning and took us to Solway Park Hotel. I was the first to go on the radio, and somehow I thought that the DJ was going to go round the 3 of us and ask us our names. Anyway, the DJ asked me a question and I said my name, Darcy Lee. I never listened to the question to know what I should have said. Okay, so afterwards the other kids were teasing me about it. The excuse I used was I was going to be around a terrorist attack and I was going to go back to the radio station to stop it. By saying my name, I was storing power, which I would claim later at the terrorist attack by returning to the radio with my name being a trigger in people's subconscious, sleepers. It was also like offering myself, Darcy Lee, with me stating, this is what's going to happen. This was all in my mind. I didn't say anything out loud. Okay, so when I was 12 years old, I went into the bird aviary that my dad had. I started to have this daydream with pictures. In the end, the sum total of everything that I saw was that I was going to be around a terrorist attack, which I couldn't stop, but still had to try, but that by being around the terrorist attack, it would be greater than stopping it, and wasn't in effect stopping it. I still had to try and stop it. That was the sum, but it said I wouldn't be able to. I would be around. From that day I practiced everything I could about terrorists and trying to stop an attack. Later, at say about 15, 16 years old, I discarded my daydream as something as just something, but carried on with terrorists as to me it was the most likely thing that would affect the world. I practiced, trained a lot, things of the mind mostly, thoughts, anything I could do with regards to war. I trained myself for the war in my own style since 12. When I was about 19, I was walking home one night and I got to the point where, with chasing the terrorists, that this was going to be the final run. It was actually about 16 I worked out later, not 19, it was more like 16. Yeah.